Hi, everyone, and welcome to the December 1st Pro Bono Net Community Call, our final one of 2015. Before we begin, I just want to go over a few logistics. You have a control panel on the right-hand side of your screen, which you can minimize or maximize at any point by clicking on the orange arrow at the top left of the panel. Most people's control panels are set to minimize by default, and you will see a small toolbar instead. Just click on the orange arrow to get your control panel back to size whenever you want it. If you're joining us today by telephone, you'll need to enter your audio PIN and select telephone under the audio options in the control panel. If you're using VoIP, please make sure you have selected mic and speaker. All callers will be unmuted, but we really want to make this a collaborative experience, so please make sure to mute yourself locally to reduce feedback. If we get feedback noise from your line, we will mute you. You can always enter comments and questions in the comment box as well, and if relevant for the group, we'll share them out. These materials will be made available to you and your coworkers on this web support site after the call and through the Pro Bono Net admin listserv, and I welcome you to share these resources with your coworkers. These calls are for Pro Bono Net administrators to learn about platform updates, partner projects, and community resources, and discuss topics of mutual interest. So with that said, joining us from the Pro Bono Net side is myself, Jillian Deal, the Training and Field Support Coordinator from Pro Bono Net, and Mike Grunenwald, the Pro Bono Net Program Coordinator. So thank you again all for joining. On today's agenda, we are going to do our 2015 Pro Bono Net Community Project Showcase. So various groups that we've been working with throughout the year. We have a few project folks that are going to talk about what they've been doing in the community, and at the end, we're going to open it up and would love to hear from any other folks about various projects that you've been working on that would be of interest to the community. And then we're going to go over a few tech updates for the community and a couple demonstrations on some tools that we've got, some new features available. And then as usual, we'll open it up to questions at the end. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with our community project showcase. So first off, we have a project that we've been working on with some partners. It's our new voting rights, the new Voting Rights Institute. This is not yet publicly available, still in progress, but we hope to have it available soon. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. Today we have Harry Baumgartner joining us to talk a little bit about the project and some unique aspects of it. So Harry, I'll go ahead and make you presenter.
Thank you, Jillian. As mentioned, my name is Harry Baumgartner. I'm with the Voting Rights Institute, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to introduce you to our organization and give you a virtual tour of our website. So the Voting Rights Institute officially launched about a month and a half or 2 months ago. It's a three-way partnership between the American Constitution Society, the Campaign Legal Center, and Georgetown Law, and its goal is to advance voting rights across the country. Many of you may be familiar with the fact that in 2013, the Supreme Court invalidated a key provision of the Voting Rights Act that made it much easier for states to pass discriminatory voting laws. And so this really made it all the more important for civil society organizations such as ours to fill the gap and to empower people across the country to bring voting rights challenges. So with that being our goal, we have 4 audiences, and really we're going to rely on the website quite heavily to help us engage those audiences. The first audience is attorneys, and what we seek to do for attorneys is to give them access to a database we've compiled with hundreds of expert reports, which will be password protected and will be accessible through the website, which I'll show you shortly. We'll also give them access to model generic pleadings for various different types of voting rights claims, such as claims through the Voting Rights Act, through the Help America Vote Act, the National Voter Registration Act, and the like. The goal of this is to cut the cost of filing these types of claims, to increase information sharing, and to enhance the quality of the claims that are being brought forward. We also have already had a number of trainings throughout the country. We had one most recently in Nashville. We're going to have one next week in Baltimore. And the goal of these trainings for attorneys is to educate them on the legal issues that are to apprise them of litigation opportunities, and to create a network of people who can bring these types of claims. The second audience that we're seeking to appeal to is experts. We want to help train them in how to give effective testimony and write effective reports, and to recruit the next generation of academicians who are interested in voting rights, who can also testify in court. The third audience is law students. Through our partnership with Georgetown Law, we already have a clinic and a practicum. We have a fellow there. I think we're going to have another type of fellow there as well. And through this practicum and these fellowships, we want to train law students in how to bring voting rights claims, and we indeed want to bring a number of them through that venue as well. And finally, the public. The public has numerous opportunities to engage with us through the website. They can submit a claim, which I'll show you shortly. And by submitting a claim means reporting a suspected violation, which we will then review, and depending on the circumstance, follow up accordingly. They can request information about voting rights issues through us. They can highlight, we will be able to highlight various different voting rights reports and news items, and advertise events that either we or other voting rights institutions will be having. So with that said and done, this is our homepage, and as you can see, it's got a nice sleek design. On the left here, we have top news items coming in through our RSS feed. We have our Twitter feed here, which automatically populates. We have links to our YouTube page, our Facebook page, our Twitter account. This is going to be a rotating GIF with the logos of our sponsors, our partners, and other affiliates. We have an About Us page over here, which basically outlines what I just said. We have a link to our advisory board down here. These are people affiliated with various different voting rights organizations throughout the country. We see ourselves as enhancing their work rather than competing in any way with it. Here we have a nice resource tab at the top for voters. When they click on it, they'll be able to immediately see our frequently asked questions. They'll be able to click here and find news for their specific site. On the top, there's also a search icon, or rather a search field. Through that field, they'll also be able to conduct searches, although the information they find through it will be slightly different. We have a constantly updated calendar here with various different voting rights events in DC and throughout the country. Over here, they can request information. They give us basic information, and we'll follow up accordingly. Here, they can submit a complaint, similar type of enterprise, except we populate it with a couple form responses. Then going to the top for our lawyers and expert tab, this is the litigation library. It doesn't quite link up to what we'll have, and the files aren't accessible here yet, but that's going to give approved members access to our litigation files, which include expert testimony and generic model pleadings. This will be an opportunity for attorneys to find litigation opportunities. Then we have three other relevant tabs here. One is for attorneys and experts to join a listserv of other like-minded individuals. There'll be opportunities for attorneys and experts to connect with others, and other forms of volunteer opportunities. And I think that just about covers it. I'm joined here with a colleague of mine, Tim Duong. Do you have anything to add, Tim?
Nope, that was great.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
Harry, I just wanted to jump in. One thing I wanted to just add was that part of the development of this site also involved adding a new functionality that admins on this call might be interested in. We've now created the possibility to search across different practice areas. So if your site has multiple practice areas, like this one has a top level, what we sometimes call the geo level, and also has a practice area that's specifically for lawyers and experts. There's now a setting available on the back ends where we can allow for a search run from the practice area to actually run across the top level geo area as well, or vice versa. So something to bear in mind as new functionality that's rolling out with this site.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
This is brilliant. Oh, go ahead, Harry.
No, I have nothing to add.
Oh, okay. Just one more thing also worth noting. This is, as many of you are familiar by now, this is a custom design, but I encourage you all on the call to go ahead and take, once this becomes live, we'll be sending an email to the listserv, but to poke around the site for ideas. If you see something that you'd like to incorporate to your site, certainly feel free to let us know. One thing that we did with existing functionality that I think is really neat is the News in Your State button. When you're selecting from drop-down, that's actually pulling in search results from items that have been tagged with the topic tag. So definitely, if you have any questions about anything that you see on that site once it becomes live and are interested in incorporating it on your site, or see any useful resources that are, would be relevant to your community, certainly feel free to reach out to Pro Bono Net with any questions. Thank you so much, Harry.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we'll also open it up at the end, but I'll go ahead and take presenter controls back. We did have a question from our California partner as to when the site would be, when is an anticipated launch timeframe?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, Harry, I'm not sure which one of us is best equipped to answer this, but I think we're anticipating a soft launch essentially up to production later this week, and then I would imagine within the next week or so we would actually be ready for a full public launch.
All right. Great. So next up we have, I'm going to turn it over. We are going to have a presentation on from a new Ian project that's coming down the pipe. So I will go ahead and turn it over to Pat Malone.
Thank you, Jillian. Hello, everyone. So we are working on a custom designed site with nonprofit partners and Pro Bono Net. And our partners are not focused on immigration law. Their core issues are around advocacy and education for their members. They wanted a site with basic information on immigration and also to connect people, to bring interested people into their core site and their call to action. We worked with outside designers, Orange You Glad, and a cut-up service, and we're able to deliver this beautiful design to Pro Bono Net, and the developers there are well underway. We hope that it will be finished within the month or so as we test it with a focus group and make minor changes as needed. So this is a work in progress, but we aspire to not only have a beautiful site, but also a site that uses plain language and has appeal to folks who are non-traditional partners outside of our usual audience, which would be immigration experts and practitioners, and now increasingly end users who have questions and basic questions about immigration law. So let's go on to the next slide and take a look at what happens when you take the first step and you get started. It has this lovely sort of click on feature where as you scroll down through those different immigration options, it lights up the bar and changes the color behind the arrow. So there's a lot of dynamic features to the site that are really beautiful and that we've appreciated throughout this project. We also have, as you can see from the navigation bar, options that follow the user throughout the journey, from this Get Started with Basic Information to a Legal Help button across the top there that connects to our online directory, the stories that our partners will provide about their members and their advocacy, and then some basic information on rights. And the site will be bilingual English and Spanish over time. So let's go to the next slide and take a look at what happens when you clicked on that option to learn about a family member. That basic information expands on top, and then there are these this is the template for the legal information within the Get Started section, and below all basic information there's an Are you eligible expandable box or question for folks who maybe read that description and want to know more and whether they meet the requirements, and then next steps that's mostly about gathering documents and getting ready. And then across the bottom of many pages we have a Find Legal Help feature that is entered by zip code. And one of the new aspects to the Find Legal Help is that it will be sorting our directory not just by geography but also by subject matter, so that it would surface organizations that do family-based immigration cases, since the user is on that page inquiring about a family-based immigration opportunity. So let's go to the next slide, please. And then you can see an example of what happens when someone clicks on the Are you eligible, how the information expands. We're still working on some of the formatting around this, but generally the site has a very clean look. And you can also see sort of above the navigation bar in very faint writing the question, if you have a family member who is a citizen, has scrolled up underneath this translucent navigation bar. Okay, and then on to the next slide, please. So one, as I mentioned, a main function of the site is to connect folks to this organization to participate in advocacy, including maybe to make a difference in the direction of immigration laws and the President's announcement that would benefit many of the members of this organization. So members can also access the mailing list and the text messaging services that our partner organization will have to keep them informed and to pull them back to the site for more information or updates. Eventually, we will also have an events feature that includes their upcoming events, but we had to work with the developer to suppress that because the partners were not ready at this time to fill that in a way that makes it worth highlighting or having featured on the site. So we will probably be launching in about a month or so, and if we're successful in our outreach, then maybe you'll hear about this outside of this presentation, because we hope to reach some non-traditional partners. That's about it for our portion. I'll take any questions now or at the end.
Great, thanks, Pat. So as most of you may have seen, even though this was built on the probono.net platform, this is actually a project that's aimed at clients, so not advocates as what things typically are when they're built on the probono.net platform. So we'll be sending out some details to the Law Help listserv for those of you who manage Law Help sites as well. This may be of interest to your to the folks using your law help sites. All right, thank you so much, Pat. And here's some information on immigrationadvocates.org if you are not already a member. All right, so now we'll go ahead and turn it over to Mary Irvine, who will step us through a revamp of Pro Bono Net North Carolina. So I will go ahead and make you presenter, Mary.
Great. Thanks, Jillian. I am Mary Irvine, and I work with a couple of different groups here in North Carolina. I'm sort of in a unique position in that I work with our IOLTA program. I work for our IOLTA program. I also work for our Access to Justice Commission, and I help sort of facilitate a group called the Equal Justice Alliance, which is a group of the executive directors of the legal aid programs across North Carolina. So that's how I came to this project to sort of work on a site revamp of our statewide Pro Bono Net site. I do want to take just a minute and introduce Gray Wilson, who I think is on the phone from Legal Aid of North Carolina and who wears many hats at Legal Aid, but for a long time one of those hats was working on the Pro Bono Net website there at Legal Aid. And Legal Aid of North Carolina is the LSC-funded legal aid program here in North Carolina that is statewide. We have several other programs, but they are either interest area focused, like our disability rights program, or they're geographically focused. And so Gray was working on the website on behalf of Legal Aid of North Carolina. I mean, I'll say the purpose of the site I don't think has changed from when it was originally created, which was to be a statewide portal to connect private attorneys with pro bono opportunities, and to bring in both prospective pro bono attorneys, but also for the current pro bono attorneys to provide resources as we're able to do so. So the audience really is that current and prospective pro bono attorneys. And the goals of the revamp that we took on were to sort of remove some excess and outdated information on the site and try to make the site easier to navigate, to make sure that the information on the site was specific enough so that someone who doesn't know anything about what the pro bono opportunities are could have what they needed to actually sign up for something. And so I guess the other goal was generally just to give kind of a new look to the site, and part of that for us was to make the branding consistent with other statewide communications efforts. So I'll just show you a little bit of the site, and I actually want to first, I used the Wayback Time Machine to show an example of the site as it was. This is probably a while ago now, given the pictures on the side. But so really this is what our goal was, to kind of rebrand, to make it easy to get to the main areas of the site, to begin using the Pro Bono Opportunities Guide tool, which wasn't really being used. And this part certainly required updating a fair amount of the information that was in the old database. And then just to make sure that, you know, the calendar and the news and other pieces of the site stayed updated and fresh. My focus really was on the external side of the site, so the public side that doesn't require a login. And I haven't done much on the internal side at all, but I think that would be among our next steps, because we know that that's a great resource. It already is being used by current pro bono attorneys, particularly with Legal Aid of North Carolina, but I think we want to continue to make that internal side even more useful. Just in terms of process, I worked with members of the Alliance, so again, that's the group of the executive directors of the legal aid programs here, as well as pro bono coordinators across the state, the Access to Justice Commission's pro bono committee, and I also looked at other state sites to kind of see what could we do that we're not doing, you know, how could we pull in information. I think it's still really a work in progress. There's still some more things that we want to do. And we have, kind of on a exciting note, our commission is receiving a little additional funding in the coming year. And we're going to be putting some of that funding towards a statewide pro bono resource center. And so the thought is that this would become something that the updating, the administration of the public side of the site, that pro bono resource center could help with. So.
Right. Are there any additional questions? Mary, I know that Mike has been working really closely with you on this, but really excited to see, you know, a way to reimagine how to engage key stakeholders and using the website as a tool to do that and configuring it in ways that would help out with that. So I think it's a great example for other states interested in looking to do something similar.
Yeah, and I would just note too that at this time we really didn't want to do a revamp that was going to cost a lot of money. We didn't really have the money to do that, but we did want to give a refresh, and Mike and Jillian were super awesome in terms of helping me to put together to figure out realistically within the plan that we had put together what we could accomplish and process-wise kind of how to accomplish that. So.
Great. All right, I'll pause for a minute to see if there are any questions that come in for Mary, or folks are also unmuted, so feel free if you've unmuted yourself locally to ask any questions.
I think one thing I just wanted to point out, again, kind of, you know, admin geeky type of stuff, is that we actually, in order to simplify some of the navigation on this site, used some redirects from the homepage to the library in the Advocate Resource Center, so that people didn't have to necessarily click over to the practice area in order to access the resources that are available there. They'll be met with the same request to log in if the resources are password protected, but it gives a consistent navigational feel throughout the site. And another thing to point out is that with the color scheme, this was actually a custom color scheme that we already had created previously, which just points out, you know, if you have ideas about how to rebrand your site or change the look and feel, which, as Mary said, you know, without incurring a large cost to redesign the site, there are a lot of options available to us that will allow us to tweak things using the existing template. But as I've been saying for the past 6 months, the template will be redesigned, and we're all going to enter into a new era here in the next year or so. But this does give you some flexibility with the existing template.
Thanks, Mike. This is Mary. I did want to also add, and I meant to show it, but I don't know if I still have the controls. But part of the branding for us was to be consistent with this statewide branding that we have, and the other statewide branding that we have is for fundraising and legislative advocacy purposes. So for me, from where I sit kind of in the statewide perspective, it was really important for those things to be consistent.
We got a nice comment.
It's looking great, Mary. Yep.
We got a nice comment from Mary in Minnesota. Said, "Looks really great, Mary. Nice for Minnesota to see." So, all right. So, in the interest of, yeah, thank you so much, Mary. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our next panelist in the interest of time. I will have Tally Wells from Atlanta Legal Aid Society talk about Olmstead rights. I know that we featured Olmstead in previous in some previous calls, but now that they've been up and running for a year, we'd just like to do a little bit of a check-in on how their project has been going.
And hi, everyone. This is Callie Wells. Jillian, are you seeing my screen or your screen?
I'm seeing your screen.
Okay, great. Well, I will show it off then. I am excited to show off olmstedrights.org. This is a website that we created in partnership with Pro Bono Net through a TIG grant. And Olmsted is the most important United States Supreme Court decision for people with disabilities. And we had 3 goals with this website. One is to tell the story of people who are impacted by Olmsted. And so we created an I Am Olmsted section specifically with stories, videos, and then the stories of the 3 people who were the main people involved in the 1999 case. And then we also have stories from StoryCorps of people whose lives have been impacted through Olmsted. So we're real excited, and we get to use this through social media, Twitter, Facebook, to share stories. We actually also have a large self-advocacy community within the disability community that have really embraced Olmsted and that work with others to help them get out of institutions. Olmsted was basically a case that said that people who are in nursing homes and other institutions have the right to get the supports and services that they need in the community rather than in institutions. So we have information about self-advocacy, about the Americans with Disabilities Act, and then self-advocacy materials. We also have a self-assessment where individuals can do their own assessment of how Olmsted can be used for them. We use Law Help Interactive, and it will point them to and fill out even complaints that they can file with the with the United States Justice Department or the Office for Civil Rights. If that's necessary, it will point them to the protection and advocacy organizations in their area, as well as the legal services organizations. And then we have legal advocacy tools for lawyers and other advocates, both those who have been involved in Olmsted for a long time, as well as those who are just getting into it. We have a legal outline that I guess I can't show you on this webpage, and but you can join our website, which I encourage you to do, and then you get to see all of the material in our legal advocacy tools section. And finally, we have information about the actual Olmsted decision, and this is particularly a page that we promote each year at the anniversary of the Olmsted decision, and we have a 30-minute film about the case. We are also very excited that the website is accessible. Pro Bono Net has been fantastic about working with us. We hired an accessibility expert to do not 1 but 2 audits of the website to make sure that we were making it as accessible as possible. Olmsted is a disability decision, and we wanted to make sure that everyone who comes to our website would be able to access all portions of the website. And I will be finishing up a little blog about lessons learned that I'll be sharing with Pro Bono Net to share on their blog, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, about the lessons learned we had on accessibility. We're also very excited because as part of our TIG grant, we got the ability to use Google Analytics and Google AdWords, and we were able to hire an expert consultant from an organization called Nemedia that does work around analytics and Google AdWords, and they have increased our visitors to the website by an astronomical amount. We went from about 300 to 500 visitors a month back in April we're consistently getting about 6,000 visitors a month. We have maxed out on the Google AdWords, and what Google AdWords has is a for nonprofits, you can apply to essentially get for free $10,000 worth of Google AdWords. And I tried to put together my own campaigns using that, and we were spending maybe around $200 to $400 based on the campaigns we did when we were able to use our consultant and have them work with us on the Google AdWords. We were able to increase that to actually get the full $10,000. The trick with Google AdWords is that they'll only give you a $2 per click spending limit, which means that if somebody else wants to use similar words and they're willing to bid higher per click, then those individuals would get the website, and we would be, or the ad, and we would be much further down within the sort of the Google ads. And so it's real important how you focus your campaign. And we've been very excited about the movement on that. We did have a webinar where we talked about sort of our analytics and our AdWords that can be viewed. It was done with Ellis Intap. And but we've been very excited and we're very appreciative of ProBonoNet and all the ways they've worked with us to make all of this happen. And I really encourage you to visit the website and to share about the website, because we've got some fabulous tools on there. And one of the main purposes is to get lawyers at legal services organizations and similar organizations to be bringing more Olmstead cases in their communities. So I hope you'll share it, and thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Tally. And as you've seen on the site, there are definitely resources that are, for those of you who manage law help sites, will be of interest for those who manage law help sites as well. So let's go on to our final presenter for this call, and then we can take a few questions at the end. But next, I would like to turn it over to Susan Ingalls, who was involved with the ProBonoNet Care Program site. Susan, do we have you on the line? Susan, it looks like you're muted on your end. Oh, I see.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Sorry about that. Susan Ingalls from South Carolina Legal Services. Just real quickly, I know we're getting towards the end of the call, but our project involves essentially three partner organizations: South Carolina Legal Services, the South Carolina Bankruptcy Law Association, and then the South Carolina Bankruptcy Court. Also, there's a national program that this arose out of, which is the CARE program, and this is a bankruptcy-related project. Many years ago, a bankruptcy judge started this program. It stands for Credit Abuse Prevention Education. So it is a nationwide program, but very loosely formed around the country. Our bankruptcy judge, the administrative bankruptcy judge here, has been very active in the CARE program since it was started many years ago, but it's been very random, not real organized, and so after many years of just sort of haphazardly doing the program, the judge brought together all of these partners to see if we couldn't do it in a more organized fashion going forward. The basics of the program is that bankruptcy lawyers and other bankruptcy professionals go to schools and different kinds of community organizations to do financial literacy presentations. And really, I guess, from the bankruptcy lawyer perspective, it's a pretty unique perspective in the financial literacy industry or area. A lot of people have different financial literacy presentations, but it is pretty unique when you have a Q&A with a bankruptcy lawyer about how not to end up in bankruptcy. So it's a great program, but we needed to, going forward, make it a lot more interconnected between the court and the lawyers and the schools in South Carolina, as well as the community organizations. So we had a committee that came together with the judge, and one of the things that we wanted to do was have this site which essentially connects the lawyers who are interested in doing these presentations with the schools and the other organizations who want some sort of financial literacy presentation. And so what the site does is to allow both the lawyers and the organizations to register so that the organizations can request a presentation, and then the lawyers are able to accept to do a particular presentation that's in the area where they're willing to do them. So it's a little bit like the pro bono model, except that we're not asking lawyers to do cases. Lawyers are getting connected with schools and organizations to do these presentations. So again, it's not a traditional pro bono effort, but it's one that's been very successful so far. We launched this in May of this year, and of course we're just a bunch of lawyers trying to, manage this and make it work. So Legal Services has been a great help, I think, to the project in getting it going in a more organized fashion. So we now have 39 volunteers who have signed on to do projects, do presentations around the state. And so we're now starting to do those presentations, starting to really market and promote the site and the CARE program itself. And so I think that's really increasing the number of schools and organizations that are registering for the site. One thing that we have to do, I think, is to continue to work on making it user-friendly, in particular for the lawyers, but also for the various schools and organizations. But we do have on there a library where our materials committee has a main presentation that they created. It's a Prezi presentation that can be used for the high school level age group. And then they've also continued to tweak that presentation to address other age groups, so like the middle school age or even the college age, making it, have things that are more college related, like student loans and that sort of thing. So it's been a real success. We're excited about all the presentations that are being requested, and really glad that we did this site early on as we were really starting to reorganize the program, because I think at this point, with having 39 volunteers, trying to do all that through emails and just very random efforts would have not been real helpful to moving forward and expanding in the way that we wanted to. So we're really excited about what it's doing for the program. And now we're starting to video some of the presentations. Obviously we've got a video of actually our marketing efforts to different groups, telling about the program itself, and then just taking pictures and getting feedback that we'll start to include in the site. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Susan. And for those of you who are interested, the main underlying functionality on Pro Bono Net that's being used to match lawyers to presentations has been the Enhanced New Cases tool. We set that up for them. So if there's any questions about, folks interested in using a similar model, please feel free to reach out to us. So thank you again to all of our presenters. We would love to hear if there's anyone on the call who's engaged in any projects during 2015 or has anything planned for 2016 that would be of interest to the community. Please let us know. We'd love to hear about it, especially if it's going to be involving Pro Bono Net or a website or digital aspect that's being involved. So I'm going to go ahead and turn over to Mike to talk about some tech updates.
Thanks, Jillian, and I'd like to also reiterate thank you to all of our presenters for giving us the insights into their projects. That was really helpful. I just want to give you a quick update. We have a code push scheduled for the end of this week. It's kind of an unusual code push in that there will be no downtime. That's why you haven't received multiple emails from me warning you about this. So you should not see any impact on your site on Friday. The reason for that is that the primary focus of the push is to finalize code for the Voting Rights Institute site and the Step Forward project that we got previews of today. We will, as I mentioned, be moving towards public launches of both of those sites in the near future, so look out for notices from us about that. We'll be doing more significant work as far as bug fixes and enhancements in the coming first quarter of 2016. So when we do a code push, I think in January is our first scheduled code push. You'll be hearing the details about that from me as we get close to that. And also, oh, Jillian, so I'm going to hand it back to Jillian to talk a little bit about a new functionality that is available to everyone.
Yes. So last year, you may have seen from Mass Pro Bono, we worked on a project with Mass Pro Bono to have a new feature, email sharing, implemented on the site. This we are going to do a demo sometime next year, but I just wanted to note for folks that this is forthcoming. Essentially, it's the ability to email in library content for approval onto the site. So makes adding, so advocates can email in approval for content, and it's a more seamless way to get content populated onto your site. So if you see a potential use for this, certainly we encourage you to start thinking about that. Feel free to reach out to us for any questions or planning if you'd like to implement on this on your site, but we will have a demo, and that is now will now be available for other states outside of Massachusetts. Anything you'd like to add, Mike?
Yeah, just very quickly, wanted to point out, what our upcoming priorities are. I think on this call I've already mentioned that we're working with partners in Puerto Rico on a Spanish language site. We've talked about the voting rights site that will launch shortly. We're doing a major refresh and custom redesign of the ProBonoNet New York site that we'll start to see results from in the coming year. We've also begun work with Washington, Oregon, and Montana on refresh projects. We've heard about the accessibility enhancements on olmsteadrights.org, so please make sure to check that out. And finally, the Step Forward initiative, we should expect to see that launched very soon. We have several grants starting up in the beginning of 2016 that involve enhancements to existing tools, mobile optimizations for existing tools across the board, as well as a redesign and refresh of the standard template. And I will, of course, be keeping everyone up to date on our progress on those projects as they proceed.
Great. And and then the final tech update that I'd like to cover, we have recently released, working on a project with Central Valley in California, an enhanced content widget feature. This basically is, most of you are familiar with widgets, but these are can go on your home page and some other areas of your site, and basically can automatically pull in content that is added to your site. What this enhanced content widget feature does is it helps you customize content for your members based on interests that they mark on their profile form. So most of you are all familiar, for those of you that have membership components of your site, there's the profile form that folks will fill out when they first join the site. And this feature makes it so that there are forms, or that there are areas of interest that you can check to get updates on. And so someone, for example, here's an example here. We have children and elder care selected, and someone can select that that's their area of interest. And then they can receive customized content via email and via the content widgets. And this does involve some setup on the admin's end, but we're very excited to announce that this feature is now available for use. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to get you set up with that. All right. Seems like I'm having some temporary issues with my GoToMeeting. I'm not sure if other folks are experiencing that. But the last thing I just wanted to do is open it up to questions for folks. And folks are unmuted, so you should be able to ask them. Mike, are you seeing any coming into chat?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, great. So with that said, just wanted to thank you all for joining today's call. As a reminder, just wanted to go over really quickly that we will be at the TIG conference in San Antonio, and we will be hosting a community network session there. So we hope to see you there. So we'll be in San Antonio. We'll also be sending out a survey around some of our support resources sometime the end of this year or early next year. So keep an eye out on that coming from the ProBonoNet listserv. We'd love to hear some feedback as we start planning for 2016. And next ProBonoNet community call, we will be sending you an update as to when that will be held, whether it will be in February or March. So stay tuned for updates.
Jillian, just want to add one, just wanted to add one quick note for those of you on the call. We're having a temporary issue with the support email address. So if you have a support issue that you need to have immediate attention for, please email Jillian or me directly until we provide information confirming that the support email address is back and functioning as expected.
Great. Great. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, and if in the meantime there are any other questions, let us know. And thank you so much. Have a great rest of your year.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.